It's Wednesday, December 30th. Welcome into the Pack a Day podcast, everyone. I'm your host, Andy Herman. You can follow me on Twitter at Andy Herman NFL. I'm a writer and editor for Packer Report. I'm excited to talk today about the grades for the offensive side of the football from Week 16 against the Tennessee Titans. Some really high grades to give out, not too many low grades, but I'll go over my top three and bottom three as usual. But before I get to that, got to get something off my chest. I want to talk a little bit about the NFL playoffs and how the teams get into the playoffs and why it needs to change. And I think you can probably sense where this is going. We are about to see an NFC East team at 6-10 or 7-9 at best get into the playoffs, and that is ridiculous. And, I've been mostly happy with the changes that they've made. I'm excited about 7 playoff teams. At first, I was rather indifferent to it. And in fact, I thought maybe it was the wrong direction to go in, especially if you're going to be adding a 17th game to the regular season. To me, the more regular season games should be the less playoff teams, or at least stay the same. But I really do love the fact that, the regular season matters immensely because there's only one, bye, and there's only one number one seed that is going to get that bye and home field advantage throughout the playoffs. So there is this real importance to the regular season and whoever finishes with the best record in both conferences, and a huge reward as being the only team that gets that bye. So I do really like that fact, even with, 17 games going into next season. I think that they've made some really smart changes, but how teams get in has got to change because there's a legitimate chance that we're going to end up with an 11-5 team in the AFC that does not make the playoffs, and either a 6-10 or a 7-9 team at best that makes it in the NFC, and particularly in the NFC East. And that's crazy. And I understand that one's in the AFC and one's in the NFC, and you're not exactly going to flip conferences. You could just take the 14 best teams based on record. I wouldn't be totally against that, but I can totally 100% understand, wanting to keep the conferences, different, wanting to keep your division rivalries intact and things like that. And I actually like the idea that you can go to your team preseason and say, hey, if we win our division, we get in the playoffs. But there has to be a caveat. And to me, that caveat has to be, in order to get that automatic seed and that automatic berth into the playoffs as a division champion, you have to be a 500 or better team. So 8-8, this season, or if next season when they have 17 games, 8-1 or better in order to get that automatic seed. And I think that's a really fair way of doing it, because if you're a 7-9 or a 6-10 team, you do not deserve an automatic berth into the playoffs. I don't care if you're the division champion. It just means your division was super terrible and you were the best of a worse, terrible group of teams. That shouldn't earn you anything. So I think they have to make that change and say, hey, if you are 500 team or better, you get that automatic berth into the playoffs. If you are not, you do not get it, and we're going to take the next best wildcard team. Now, if you're, a game below 500, 7-9, or next year, whatever the case may be, 7-9-1, and you're the 7th best wildcard team, so be it. You get in. But I don't think you should get that automatic berth into the playoffs by being a really crappy division winner. And I think more importantly, whether they make the changes or not, you have to reseed the teams. There is zero reason, even if you're going to, reward the Washington football team or Dallas or the Giants, whoever gets in, with the number 4 seed and a home game against Tampa Bay, who's probably going to be 11-5 on the season, assuming they beat the Falcons this week. So it is insane that the Buccaneers, who've had this really good 11-5 season, are going to have to go on the road potentially against a 6-10 team. And you could make an argument that maybe Tampa Bay is actually, if they were to reseed the teams, if you were Tampa Bay, would you rather have like Arizona or LA, assuming Goff is, available in the playoffs? Would you rather have Arizona and LA at home, or would you rather have, one of the NFC East teams on the road? So you could make that argument, but it really kind of screws over everyone, because whoever finishes in that number 2 spot, it could be Green Bay. They should be playing the worst team, and that worst team is the team from the NFC East. If the Packers finish with a 2 and have to go against the Cardinals and Kyler Murray coming to Lambeau Field, that's terrible when there's a team like Washington or New York that you should be facing in that first round game, because you are the best team. You could make a strong argument that, if the Saints finished 3rd and the Buccaneers finished 5th, that the Saints, got completely screwed because they're going to have to face, again, probably Kyler Murray or the Rams with, probably Jared Goff or a really hot Chicago Bears team. If they were to beat Green Bay on Sunday, they're going to have to face one of those teams. Well, the team that finished below them, the Buccaneers, gets to face a far inferior opponent going to the NFC East. So you are screwing over everyone except for the winner of that, NFC East division, and they don't deserve any handouts for having an awful season. So something has to change. Again, I think the easiest way is just to say the only way you get that automatic berth is to be 500 or better, and I can get on board with that. Or either way, whether you do that or not, you should be reseeding the teams 1 through 7 based off of total record if you are giving out those automatic berths and not letting them have the 4 seed while still finishing with a crappy season. So I think there have to be some adjustments moving forward, and this is a perfect example. And again, the Colts or the Dolphins or the Browns, one of those teams probably ends up getting screwed in the AFC as a 10-6, 11-5 team. And again, you're handing out a playoff berth to a 6-10 or a 7-9 team in the NFC East. It just doesn't make any sense. And if that's your playoff structure, there's obviously something wrong. So fix it. And there's some very easy fixes out there. I'm hoping they can change that moving forward. All right, enough about playoffs. Good news is Green Bay will be in it, hopefully with the number 1 seed, hopefully getting, whatever opponents at Lambeau Field to go on to the Super Bowl. That'd be great. But let's go over some offensive grades from this past week. Let's start with my 3 highest graded players. Number 1, to no surprise, Devonte Adams. And this was actually my highest grade of the season for Devonte Adams. I'm running out of things to say, as I mentioned on Twitter during the game. There's a couple plays, and I even did it again as I was grading. I'm just literally sitting there giggling because of what Devonte Adams is doing on the football field. The fade in the corner of the end zone, first of all, gorgeous ball by Aaron Rodgers. But, I mean, Devonte Adams is like he hasn't even made his break yet when Rodgers is throwing that football. And then Adams just, gets the defender on his back feet. Basically, he's in quicksand. Adams goes by it, perfect hands, great hands for the touchdown. And it makes it look so ridiculously easy. That is not an easy play from either Rodgers or Devonte Adams in that situation. In fact, as Matt LaFleur mentioned, that's a run pass, basically a run pass option. And they just basically do the fade, and it's unstoppable if those two guys are performing it that way. The first touchdown, you look, he gets that little screen and Rodgers kind of throws it inside. There's the corner crashing down. There's the safety crashing this way. And he's got nowhere to go. You could take a still picture of the two defenders emerging on him at like the 6-yard line with his back to the ball because he does kind of a spin move. And you look at that still and you said he's going to get tackled for like a 1 or 2 yard loss on the play. And he scores a touchdown on the play. Then there's the other screen later in the game in the fourth quarter where, again, he just accelerates by the cornerback and he takes it, 30 plus yards on the play, just right up the field. And it's things that are so simple, and it makes it so complex for the defense to guard against because unless basically you're keeping a safety right over the top of them or bracketing them with 2 corners, like what else are you going to do? If you play a man up, they're going to do that fade. And if you play off of him, they're going to do the quick screen and he's still going to take it 30 yards. What the hell do you want to do? And if you have 2 corners or 2 defensive backs that are going to literally bracket him and go against him, you're going to have A.J. Dillon, Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams running against, uneven fronts all day long and have the ability to just run them right out of the ballpark. And oh, by the way, they even did double Devonte Adams on his other touchdown of the game. They go with him. He basically just stops. They keep going. He cuts back and Aaron Rodgers throws it to him wide open. They double teamed him on the play. They basically were saying, we're not going to let Devonte Adams score a touchdown here. And he scored a touchdown anyway. That's how good Devonte Adams is right now. There is no stopping him. And I know Carolina did a pretty good job on him the previous week, but I guarantee you if some team is going to go 7 and 8 man deep coverage, Green Bay is going to have an answer for that, specifically with running the football, especially with Corey Linsley back. That is not going to be a defense that's set up for success against the Packers moving forward either. So good luck to the rest of the NFL. I don't know what you do. There is no more conversation about the number 1 wide receiver in football. The conversation begins and ends with Devonte Adams. He is out of his mind right now, and it is so ridiculously fun to watch. Number 2, Aaron Rodgers, and it makes it easier when you have Devonte Adams on the outside. He did make the one egregious interception, which, again, you can have some accident forgiveness with because it's his 5th of the season, and we're 15 games in, so 1 every 3 games. I think you can live with that. And, there was maybe, I think he thought Devonte was going to come back to the football a little bit. Devonte kind of stuttered and kept going. I think there was a little miscommunication, but just a bad decision by Rodgers. But outside of that, again, a really nice day. He did have the play under center where he kind of bobbled the snap from Lindsley and, kind of fell backwards and had to take a sack. I mean, those are your negatives in this game. And the rest was just positive, positive, positive. Getting Green Bay in good looks, making the right reads when he has kind of those run pass options. The ball, again, to Devonte Adams on both fade routes is just ridiculously good. The touchdown pass to EQ, ridiculously good. There's a reason he's going to be the MVP. Pat McAfee already, gave him the award today on the Pat McAfee show, saying that he's already won it, and they had the, confetti poppers and everything. Certainly it was fun to watch, but again, another really great game from Aaron Rodgers. And then number 3, again, no surprise, AJ Dillon. And there were a couple runs where, he didn't hit the hole right, and I think he would like to have back. There was one pass protection that he would like to have back. There was a play late in the game where he pass protected perfectly, and through the majority of the game, he hit the right hole and read the run play the right way. The touchdown run, both touchdown runs. Let's talk about the first one first. Makes a little jump cut, and then he's going through Allen Lazard, phenomenal block. He's going through, and we talk about running backs getting skinny through the hole. It's one thing to do that if you're Aaron Jones. It's another when you're 250 pounds and built like a linebacker, but he gets skinny through the hole. And basically you look at the corner come crashing down on him. I'm not sure that corner got a fingertip on him. He legitimately it was agile enough to completely make that corner miss. And then first step explosion, right? And you see power backs at times, your Brandon Jacobs and your TJ Duckett's over time, and whoever else you want to put in that conversation, Ron Dane, they're looking at that safety ahead of them, and they're saying, I'm going to go through that safety, which at times, and we'll talk about this in just a little bit as well, AJ Dillon has the ability to do. But it's another thing to be able to just accelerate to the sideline and burst past that safety. And not a lot of guys that are built like AJ Dillon can do that. He did that. Just a ridiculous play all the way around to have the vision, the cutback ability, the ability to get small through the hole and then accelerate past the safety. Just really, really good stuff from AJ Dillon. And then talk about the last touchdown run. There's literally nothing there. So what does he decide to do? He decides to go through a nose tackle. The defensive tackle is sitting there and he just goes through him. And it's 7-yard touchdown on the play. And he was still 4 yards out when he made initial contact with that nose tackle. That nose tackle is engaged with an offensive lineman, just trying to get into the backfield or see what he can do. And the next thing he knew, he had tire tracks over his entire body and was roadkill at the 2 or 3 yard line. You do not see these type of things. Just some rare ability from AJ Dillon in this game. And it's really hard not to be excited. Also made a couple nice hands catches on, I think one screenplay he had to go low, another play I think he had to kind of catch it to the side a little bit. So, nothing downfield, but showed off a little hands. And I thought this was a really, really nice game from AJ Dillon. And again, my 3rd highest graded player. Kudos, honorable mention to Corey Lindsley, who had another 1.0 plus game and was the Packers' best offensive lineman in this game. No rusts, coming back. My 3 bottom graded players, this is really nitpicky on all 3. None of the 3 had a really bad game. MVS was my lowest graded player. Didn't get a ton of opportunity in this game. Got some attention when he was kind of a decoy deep, so you can give him some benefit there. But I thought there were a couple opportunities for him to win some routes one-on-one. Just wasn't able to do it. Had a couple miscues in run blocking this week. Had a couple really nice blocks as well. But when you don't get many opportunities, you have to be near perfect, in just all other facets. It's really tough to do as a wide receiver. So he didn't get any targets. I think he, probably would have liked to have a couple of those routes back. But again, this isn't anything terrible from MVS in this game. Dominique Dafney, I actually liked a lot of things that Dafney did in this game. I had a couple nice blocks, had a nice reception. I'm intrigued to see what they do with him moving forward, but did have a couple blocks certainly that he would like to have back that kind of blew up some plays. There's one play where AJ Dillon, I think it was AJ Dillon, bounced it to the outside, and they had Daphne and they had Billy Turner pulling, and both of them went towards the same guy. And if they just get to that second level, you're going to have AJ Dillon one-on-one with a corner 15 yards downfield for a potential touchdown. I think that was actually on the drive where they eventually had the block field goal and everything like that. So if they just blocked that up a little better, AJ Dillon may have even had a better day, which is ridiculous to think about. And then Elton Jenkins struggled a little bit with some of the power, had a couple really nice blocks. I posted one on Twitter as well. So again, not a brutal day from Elton Jenkins, but a couple blocks that he would have liked to have back. I'm going to get out of here. Thanks so much for listening and joining me today. I'll be back tomorrow. Make sure to check out Dusty, Steve, Sarah, wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't. And as always, go Pack Go.